Hi, my name is Patience Afulani. I am an assistant professor at the University of California, San Francisco. My primary research is on respectful maternity care. So I've been asked to speak as part of this consultation on the proposed indicator verifying that the National Pre-Service Education Curriculum for maternal health workers includes standards for respectful maternity care. This is formulated in the phase 2 of the strategies towards ending preventable maternal mortality as the presence of a component that specifically addresses the universal rights of childbearing women in the National Pre-Service Education Curriculum for all midwifery service providers. This is a new untested indicator. The key constructs in this indicator is RMC. However, there are other words that need to be operationalized in the current formulation. These are standards, National Pre-Service Education Curriculum, and also maternal health workers. And I'll touch up on each of these in my presentation. So the first, the key construct here is respectful maternity care. There is no universally agreed on definition of respectful maternity care, but there are a number of definitions, including the one proposed by WHO. RMC is defined here as care organized for and provided to all women in a manner that maintains their dignity, privacy, and confidentiality, ensures freedom from harm and mistreatment, and enables informed choice and continuous support during labor and childbirth. I have underlined key domains within the broader construct of RMC that are critical to measure. And these components are essential to identifying standards for RMC. In this slide, I have just inserted the universal rights of childbearing women, also known as RMC Charter. And as you can see, the list of rights here align very well with the WHO RMC definition. Does it make sense that in the EPMM phase 2 formulation of the initial proposed construct, we use RMC Charter, the RMC Charter as the standards for RMC? And so although we don't have a unified RMC standard, these rights are a great start. I also wanted to mention on other words in the formulation of the indicator related to National Pre-Service Education Curriculum for maternal health workers. So this should be straightforward if we are certain that each country has a National Pre-Service Education Curriculum for maternal health workers or midwifery service providers. However, it is possible that many countries may not have National Pre-Service Education Curriculum for maternal health workers. In this case, measurement becomes difficult because we need to decide on which group of maternal health workers we are looking at. And even if we decide on a particular group like midwives specifically, different training institutions may have different curriculum, which will make an indicator based on a curriculum difficult to measure. For the state of measurement, I'll focus on RMC broadly. There's no data on the currently proposed indicator with respect to its presence in curriculum. We know, however, from Boring's 2015 systematic review on mistreatment that most research on women's experiences prior to 2015 were qualitative. The few quantitative tools focused on disrespect and abuse, which is not the direct opposite of RMC. And even then, disrespect and abuse was operationalized differently across studies. Since 2016, however, we have had a number of validated scales with good psychometric properties that tap into the RMC construct more broadly beyond disrespect and abuse. These include the RMC perception scale by Shefarol, which was validated in India, and the person-centered maternity care scale developed by my colleagues and I, which has been validated in Kenya, in India, and in Ghana. There are also two scales on autonomy and respect by Verdam et al. Validated in Canada, and more recently the WHO survey and observation tools for mistreatment. These are all measurement at the individual level, although the data can be aggregated to higher levels. Now, data from all of these quantitative measures, as well as from the numerous qualitative studies, show that globally RMC is suboptimal, with major gaps in dignity, privacy, confidentiality, informed choice, continuous support, etc. However, because of the different measures used in different studies, we can't really compare across time, and none of the existing data are based on nationally representative samples, which make global comparisons impossible. I want to highlight that although we do not have a unified standards for RMC, we are forging ahead with measurement at the individual level, and we can do the same for national measures. So my last set of slides, I've been asked to summarize my perspective about several measurement issues. I'm starting with construct validity. And the questions posed are, is it clear what it is supposed to measure, and does it make sense scientifically? So validity assesses whether a measure or a tool measures accurately what it is intended to measure. And construct validity is usually assessing whether the measure adequately represents the underlying latent constructs. So the answer to these questions is it depends on the measure we choose for the construct. We can have an RMC measure with high construct validity, as has been shown with individual measures, if we have a clear operational definition and ensure that the related measures reflect the operational definition. If there is a national pre-service curriculum for each country, we could verify what to look for in the curriculum. We'll need to be clear how we'll capture it. So whether we are looking at the presence of any component that specifically addresses the RMC charter, or whether we're interested in all components. And so whether we're capturing this as a yes/no binary indicator and what is lost in that, or whether we want to look at it for, as a continuum, keeping in mind trade-offs for each approach. On the question of feasibility and data availability, is there available data of acceptable quality? So there is data available on RMC at the individual level, but we don't have any data available on RMC at the national level. Can the data be obtained with reasonable and affordable efforts in a timely manner? It depends. If there is one curriculum for each country, that may be obtained in a reasonable manner. As I have mentioned, there might be different curriculum, which will make data collection tedious and expensive. And whether to increase reporting burden on countries depend on how we're obtaining the data. So reviewing each country's curriculum may be too labor intensive. Asking countries to report it might be additional burden on countries. I would need to figure out who would report for it to be credible. For harmonization, would it strengthen or complement existing efforts? I don't know if it would, as I'm not aware of other data currently being collected from curriculum reviews. And none of the other indicators, EP, phase 2 indicators are based on their presence in the curriculum. But for whether it lacks redundancy and does not measure something already captured in other indicators, I'll say definitely yes, it is certainly not a redundant indicator as it is not captured by other current indicators. And for relevance, RMC is certainly a very relevant construct, and an indicator on RMC would directly support EPMM strategies for reducing preventable maternal mortality. We need an indicator from a rights-based perspective. But there's also evidence that RMC is significantly associated with improved maternal health and survival, supporting the need for an indicator even from a health outcomes perspective. On interpretability and usefulness, there's certainly strong evidence to support the need for an RMC indicator, and results would help point to areas for improvement in curriculum development. A national RMC indicator could also advance strategic planning, policy, or programming at different levels in the system. But we need to remember that the presence of RMC components in a curriculum is a good start, but might not reflect women's experiences. To summarize, we definitely need an RMC indicator for national monitoring. by seeking to verify its presence in national pre-service education curriculum for maternal health, it's going to be difficult to define and measure unless we are certain that each country has one unified national pre-service education curriculum for maternal health workers. And also to mention, this is the only indicator looking through the other set of indicators that will involve review of curriculum, but there are some other indicators that focus on presence in national health plans or based on survey data. And so we could reformulate this RMC indicator to align with those. So some potential alternatives to address the issue of not having a unified curriculum is to reformulate the indicator into something like this: that there is provision in the National Health Plan requiring all maternal health related and pre-service training to include RMC standards. This would be easier to measure as most countries have one National Health Plan, and the indicator can be a simple yes or no indicator, noting whether or not there is a policy requiring all maternal health related pre-service training to include RMC content. And data collection for such an indicator can be aligned with indicator 4.2 on presence of RMC as a right in the National Health Plan. Another alternative is to look for RMC standards in guidelines. So whether the National Maternal Health Plan or guidelines lays out standards for RMC. And this could be based, standards could be based on the RMC Charter or WHO standards, but the indicator itself does not need to be prescriptive as to which standards are laid out, as long as they align with core RMC domains per the definition we use. How various training institutions operationalize the requirements for RMC within their pre-service curriculum can then be the subject of more in-depth analysis, which might not be comparable across countries, but can be done within countries. These indicators on presence in national plans or curriculum are a great start, but we need to remember that it may not reflect women's experiences. And it would be great if this group can advocate for a national RMC indicator that actually reflects women's experiences as a way of showing how countries are doing in protecting women's rights. So I want to plant a thought on an RMC indicator based on women's experiences that could be in the form of a national RMC score based on a set of RMC related questions included in national health surveys, such as the demographic and health surveys. Data collection for such an indicator could be aligned with other existing indicators, such as the one we already have on scale attendance at birth, or even some of the newer indicators we are proposing, like one on proportion of women who make their own informed and empowered decisions regarding reproductive health. And I propose a score as against an indicator based on a proportion on one particular item, because a score based on several items will enable us to capture different domains of RMC without having to propose several different indicators. So thank you for the opportunity to present in this consultation, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.